我觉得右关这个选手的话是一个比线上比较稳的人嘛，我的话就是有可能会被抓崩这样子。我觉得 RNG 的两个上单的话都是非常强的选手吧。可能 Let Me 强于姿态是这样子。然后，打 RNG 的话，线上注意就做好自己的吧，他们有点太猛了。
Oh, good job, Audi. You were able to be yourself and you stopped the ganks that were being thrown by MLXG as well as the pressure that came out from Let Me in that top lane for game 1. And to be fair, crucial to Vici's success to hold on to the top side early into the match. Fell behind, but didn't get put into the bin by Let Me.
An issue is that when RNG decided to really commit towards the top side of the map, they did so off of trying to kill Audi as opposed to just trying to pressure Audi away from his structure. And in overreaching and attempting to look for the kills, that's when RNG were punished and lost critical things like kill gold, Rift Herald, which was probably the biggest one because it allowed so much more access over the map on a pick composition that Vici were running, at least for the initial mid-game before all the QSSs came in. So credit where credit is due. Audi did have everything in the kitchen sink thrown at him, and because RNG decided to attempt to kill him as opposed to just taking his house, that's what started to burn down RNGs pretty early on in that series.
And credit where credit's due, Vici also caused the upset in the first match against RNG. Now, it took some creative plays as well as a lot of frustration on our end when we were watching some of the plays happen from the side of Vici and RNG. But we got there. We saw the upset in game 1 for Vici. Now, how do they do it in game 2 or potentially game 3? Because they have the chance to pick up their second win in the LPL, and it's going to be the second time this week that RNG could be upset by a lower end team.
I think that you run the exact same composition, and I'm not meaning just the same champions, I just mean that same type of, vanilla, bare bones. You've got your tank line, you've got your picks. I think the key pick that I don't want to see changed is the Rise, but I have a feeling that as we swap from blue side and red side, that RNG will acquire this champion because it does mean so much to both Coco and Xiaohu as a shared priority. But that's the only thing that I want Vici to really prioritize. If they can get the Rise, just take it.
Coco looked very strong on that champion. He was MVP for that first match.
I just think it band-aids so many of their problems because of Rise's ability to not only have the hard CC so he can be an initiation, his ability to scale or be powerful at multiple points in the game. So you always feel that you have a win condition or a champion that you can play through in team fights. And then his ability to play around objectives and play side lanes with Realm Warp. Just think of the LPL, and for Vici in particular, especially a player like Coco, it plasters over everything, baby. Just buff that out.
What do you feel about putting Uzi on something that's, not Cogmore or Vayne?
I would like to be Ashe. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Ashe still dies when she steps forward there, so...
True. But Ashe can also throw out an arrow from an absurd distance away.
You know how I felt, Fish. There was just a lot of question marks.
So no substitutes by either side. It's still MXG as well as Let Me starting for RNG. Abel's not going to be brought in either, so Uzi bumbled the last team fight when it came to positioning. Didn't do too well there. Stop texting! You've got a League of Legends match going on! Young people on their phones these days.
If I was an RNG fan, I'd also be like face first into my phone.
Just
I'd be watching the MSI highlights. I remember.
Reliving the good old days.
I remember when we were champions. That was the day.
I remember the start of the split where we didn't even need Uzi to be incredibly strong.
所以我们自己这部分的话，就是不要管他们打得怎么样，我们一定要赚我们自己的那一部分。
Well, Singtai, you guys looked fantastic when you guys played the way you want to play.
I do think that is a mentality that a lot of lower level teams really need to take into.
Yes.
And stop focusing.
Your style.
Exactly. Stop focusing so much on what your opponent is trying to do. Like, this is what BLG, the trap that they fell into. They focused too much on what the opponent was trying to do, trying to get fancy with the flex picks, try to deny all of these shenanigans. Just play you. Play your strong champions.
Channel your inner Snake. Channel your inner SOFM, and you do you.
Maybe not Snake.
Okay.
Rogue Warriors.
Channel your
Probably
inner Rogue Warriors.
the better example there. Play Kled mid. Just unleash the beast.
Vici seemed to do most of that when they could in game 1. Fumbling some execution, but it was very Vici-esque the way they played. Swift was a late game champion of Skarner, but still played the early game the way Swift normally would. And it worked. Now do it again. You can do it.
They've done it once so far this entire split, so out of 8 weeks, Vici have only been able to connect 2 games in a row.
Uh-oh.
Xiaohu looking very angry.
I don't think Vici actually have a proper chance at playoffs. Unless they win every single match and the stars align for them, I think they're pretty much out of contention.
They haven't been technically
They're
eliminated,
not technically
but
eliminated.
I believe this series would technically eliminate them.
No, just a little bit of hope almost for Vici.
Please,
Don't-
RNG, you're my only hope.
The one final Pog champ to give them a win and a chance for playoffs.
Would
An
be-
LGD story at best.
Oh boy. A Vici story, if you will.
Yes.
Okay, key picks to look for.
Rise.
And?
Not Cogmore. Am I right?
Not Kog'Maw.
Anything but Cogmore for RNG. Rise will be contested though between the 2 mid laners. Who else are we looking at?
That's really the only
That's it.
champions I care
got it.
about.
Did I get it right?
You did.
Oh my goodness, I've done it.
We've swapped sides. We're going to see how this one shakes out and if RNG can fight back here.
Well, we have Talia as well as Rakan being banned out here by RNG. Tom, Kench, and Aatrox taken away by Vici. Aatrox is just a menace at the moment. We gave him buffs. Why did we give him buffs? I don't know. He was being played before he got those buffs.
I do like
Now
the
he's stupid
adaptation
strong.
of Tom Kench, however. So it was a priority pick from Vici for blue side last game. They would assume that it would be a priority pick this time around from RNG.
It's mind
because
games.
It is Uzi.
They're like, hey, Uzi messed up positioning last match. Let's not give them the first pick, Tom Kench. Let's make him do it again at 55 minutes into the match. Camille's the final band to come out from RNG. Rise taken away here by Vici. Ban it out or risk the first pick. Kaiser's gone, so they deny Uzi one of his champions instead.
You have big power picks like Kindred,
Varus.
Varus.
Kindred, Varus, Rise are the 3 big ones to look at.
We don't normally see a Rise priority this early on. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out simply because of the nature of Coco and Xiaohu. Although Xiaohu feeling pretty arrogant enough that he could take the Zoe into the Rise the first time around.
Well, they go for Gragas instead, so RNG with the priority on that flex pick. We saw Ming pick it up in the support position last match.
If I'm Vici, I would love to just grab Kindred and Rise here. Even though it's a Gragas,
Perfect.
just not even care.
I would say Varus Rise. Varus Rise worked for them last match. We saw how much pressure Martin had in the bottom lane with the pick. Denies the strong pick from Uzi as well. I like the pick of Varus. Now pick Rise and make us happy.
Is that Ezreal's going to get locked in next rotation?
Ah.
So while I understand, the thing is that Varus has never been a high priority pick for Uzi. And he's totally fine to take that Ezreal. And so by holding off on the Varus, maybe you try to get that Uzi would hold off on picking up the Ezreal, and you can try to pinch the champion pool of the ADCs farther.
Very early bottom lane lock in instead because it's going to be standing behind Brom. So it's locked in for the support of Sintai to protect Martin in the bottom lane.
And I feel like the not only do you have a lot of kill pressure there, but the immediate response is, okay, it's probably going to be an Ezreal, so now we also have the Brom to deal with a lot of that poke. But you could grab Shin Ezreal here.
Strong bottom lane combination does...
It would force that Gragas into the
does
jungle.
kind of mess up the flex pick, which RNG did use very well in the last draft phase. This would too, unless it's going to be an AD Morgana, or a bottom lane Morgana I should say. Not going to be the case if they pick up the champion. Told Uzi to pick up the first time, and he's done it. The Queen of Freylor has been picked up. As Ash gets locked in for Uzi. Rise has still been left up, and Coco has got his eyes on the champion.
I think this is 100% the right call. I already like the 3 champions that Vici put together on the draft phase. I already love that Uzi went back towards the Ashe. We theorized that it would be the Ezreal. We saw it all last series, JD Gaming versus BLG. A lot of players love to take the Ezreal into the Varus because he can't compete with that long-range poke. Ashe, in a very similar boat, she can actually compete with the the Varus wave clear with the Axis of Volley.
Gives her procs of lethal tempo as well. As they continue to shove in those waves. I'm still prone to the poke that will come out from Varus, and if we see Martin run the Comet once again, we saw how deadly that was to the bottom lane, giving them an advantage very early on. Zoe's the ban out coming out from Vici, denying Xiaohu that pick. targeting Audi a little bit, taking away the tanks in the top side of the map. Ornn's going to be banned out by RNG.
This is dangerous. If you ban Mundo here, I think you may have actually figured out Vici Gaming. Now, Audi is known as a carry-oriented top laner, but emphasis on oriented as opposed to carry.
It's just, he's known for one thing, but performs on a different thing.
He just doesn't have, he's only got one direction. There's not a lot of reverse. Now, in game number 1, I was super excited to see Audi recognize when he was left exposed and to disengage from scenarios. But that hasn't been the norm for Audi, and he has been subbed out quite frequently by Vici Gaming as they're trying to find kind of the last piece to the puzzle when putting together this new roster.
Well, they could have gone towards the Kindred pick here. Maybe a bit of the BLG situation where they don't want Swift in the champion. Does seem like a very Swift-style champion instead. They do go for it.
Yeah,
hovering over the Trundle for a little bit.
Swift 100% plays Kindred. You could theorize going for the Trundle because Trundle Rise as a combo works so well, and we know that Swift and Coco are the bromance of Vici Gaming. They're long-term duo queue partners. They've been on multiple teams together. So, you know, that would be the instance of why you look for Trundle. But with Trundle still, or with Kindred still open, and the ability for Gragas to still be flexed up into Letme's hands, I like the fact that they just grabbed the stronger jungler in Kindred.
It also forces RNG to show their hand now. I know we were talking about the picks in the jungle, but the fact that Vici picked up a jungler alone means RNG have to show who's going to the top lane, where the Gragas is going as well. So with Cho'Gath being picked in, unless Gragas is going mid or Morgana's doing something funky, should be Gragas in the jungle for LXG. Xiaohu's picked now.
Oh!
Star Destroyer, Aurelion Sword is going to be locked in here. So Vici get the counter pick in the top lane against Cho'Gath.
This is very interesting. I actually thought it was going to be Vladimir. Again, Xiaohu known for his limited effective champion pool right now. Only really plays about 3 to 4 champions, Ryze, Zoe, Vlad, kind of the 3 big ones that pop out. And him pulling out the Aurelion Soul, it was in 2016 that CLG Huhi destroyed Xiaohu on his signature pick of Aurelion Soul. And Xiaohu being quoted saying, "I do not know what this champion does." And he really has never played Aurelion Soul. Very rarely it comes out into the LPL. It's never really been a pick here. And when it comes out on the international stage, when Caps played it at MSI, it almost always catches the Chinese teams off guard. So to see this pick come out in RNG's hands is quite a big deal.
We saw it used very early into this split, as well as sometimes last split, to make very early dives in the top and bottom lane with the pushing potential it has. Let's see what Xiaohu does with the champion today. Cleanse is even being picked up by multiple players on the side of RNG to deal some of the crowd control that Vici have. Their final pick was Nah, going into the Cho'Gath in the top lane.
So a lot of pressure and a lot of kill lanes being set up for Vici Gaming. I would love to see, I mean, Swift can choose any lane that he wants, and he's also going to have complete control over early river as soon as Ryze has access to kind of level 5, level 6. Now, Asol will get the initial push that you're talking about, that we saw, or basically what Aurelion Soul's purpose is to find early push, then look for level 2, level 3 roams, quickly dodging back and forth between spawn. But if Xiaohu's never on point there, if he ever once loses control of that wave, Swift is just going to have access to all of the marks, all of the scuttle crabs that he desires, and then all of the kill pressure in his side lanes.
Much more early aim focused champion for Swift as well, which was some criticism we had for game 1. When on Skarner, he said this is not the identity of Vici. Made it work. Now he's on a champion that fits the identity a little bit better. Could potentially make it work even better than before.
On the other side, though, this is a much more stock standard comp from RNG.
This is an RNG comp.
It's not Talia, which is the other champion that Xiaohu's very famous for, but Aurelion Soul does very similar things. Has a lot of pick potential. You've got the Gragas from LXG. He's one of our best Gragas players in the league.
Oh no, we've jinxed it.
As well as our, I know it's going to be an MLXD
game. Time.
As well as Letme's famous Cho'Gath.
The Rang is going to try and take it to Audi in the top lane. Cho'Gath going up against Nah. Vici currently on match point though. A win here would cause an upset against RNG and pick up their second win in the summer split of the LPL. They're currently sitting at last place across both conferences. But let's get on to the Rift. For match 2, RNG taking on Vici. Yes.
Crowd's still definitely hungry and behind RNG.
Oh, they've got to be careful about their chants because it currently says their motto is champions. Yes, stop it.
You know what is one of my favorite elements of the Chinese crowd is, and this was particularly noticeable at Rift Rivals,
Okay.
but when they could start to smell the fear from King Zone as Rogue Warriors kept sliding further and further, just the energy inside that venue.
Oh, yeah.
The Chinese fans knew well before even King Zone did that death was imminent.
They know how to get behind the local teams. They know exactly what riles up their opponents as well. They do it through pure support as well, which is great to see. Lots of sportsmanship coming out from the audience.
I always forget how tiny Cho'Gath starts, and it's always a little bit of a giggle when I see him early on in the game, and he's just a little gecko selling car insurance up in the top lane.
I believe that Na's Mega Form is bigger than Cho'Gath to start the match. We'll see that soon. Swift's going to be able to pick up his marked Scuttle Crab. Good bit of RNG for Vici.
And you could see that Aurelian Soul did get the push advantage, and Xiaohu was rotating up into topside river just to kind of check it out, as Swift was spotted out by some vision, but unfortunately just a little bit too late to stop that successful RNG of the Scuttle Mark.
Does move straight into MLXG's jungle as well after picking up these Scuttle Crabs. We'll take away a few camps here and there.
Should be just some vertical jungling though. MLXG will walk into bottom side, pick up his own Scuttle. He might not be quick enough to grab into Swift's jungle and pick up things like the Gromp, as you can already see Kindred is making great time from MLXG's jungle back to her red.
Which is great for Vici in the sense that now Audi can play aggressive against Let Me in the top lane. Doesn't have to worry about Gragas being there for the gank and getting a good snowball going for Cho'Gath. As the Scuttle Crab books some added vision control as well. So there's the counter jungler coming up from MLXG as well, understanding that Kindred will be taking away some of his camps. He does the same to take away what he can as well. And Krug's really left up. And Scuttle Crab number 2 just got marked as well. So there's a chance the junglers fight over it, but Gragas is going to move straight towards it and clear that out instead.
I think the issue right now is that Xiaohu has control over mid. Maybe not.
Coco missed 1 Q in that combo. There's also RNG's Uzi's 400th game in the LPL, the second most ever played by a single player.
So many games.
Now bottom lane...
Did you just ping him of who's number 1?
In fact, I want to get these lights up for us. That's what I pinged for. I'd like to know who's number 1.
I was going to say, that's why I've been wearing sunglasses the entire time.
I would like to know who's number 1.
You don't know?
Cool. No, I don't know who's number 1.
Clear Love.
Clear Love's number 1 in the LPL.
That's my guess.
Well, he's the first player in the LPL as well, so it makes sense.
It'd either be Clear Love or PYL.
Oh, Vici going for a small play bottom side of the map. Swift shows up. Arrows coming through from Martin, but all they get is some poke. And that's what we saw from the first match. The Comet, Varus being picked up by Martin and continually poked both Uzi as well as Ming. Ming was playing Gragas at that time. Starting with Corrupting Potion as well means that he has some additional poke as well as a great sustain on this Varus.
The combo that we're seeing time and time again globally, like you said, it's all about the sustain. It allows you to itemize into lethality if you want, so you don't have to look for the Bilgewater Cutlass. And if you do, more bang for your buck.
Get all the long swords. Just build 5 long swords and throw as many arrows as possible. Ming's gonna go back to base. He picks up the double long sword for himself. Boots.
Coco seems to have a perfect read about how he wants to play this matchup, and Xiaohu does not.
He just, every time Xiaohu steps away from the minion wave, he just smashes his keyboard and gets all the spells locking down this big scary dragon. Very quiet match though. It seems like top lane's reversed slightly as Audi is taking quite a bit of damage from Let Me. Missed the boomerang. Not good.
I do love the read from Swift, the fact that he had made his back, he was on Krugs, and while Xiaohu had a window to look for a gank in the top lane, Kindred was in the area, as well as Audi being very respectful, backing, not taking any chances, has access to teleport, but never leaving himself open in a scenario where the Aurelian Soul could gank his lane and cause a pretty big nightmare. And then you have very early itemization of the cloak for MR.
Very early magic resistance for Audi. Top side map, Let Me goes back to base as well. Comet being picked up by his Cho'Gath. Performing well for now. MLXG is looking for a gank at the bottom lane, spotted out by the wards that were placed down. This is something we expect from Uzi now. He's taken the CS lead, and yes, there's a large wave that will crash onto Martin's side of the map. Much better this time round.
Yeah, denying probably closer to 10 CS as a big wave, like you were saying, is about to crash in, so it should even out. And Swift really needs to clear out his jungle and give a little bit more agency towards his bot lane. Now, Martin, not nearly the same caliber of ADC as someone like Uzi, but it shouldn't be this one-sided down here. Morgana and Ashe will always have push, but he should be able to threaten a little bit more.
20 CS behind. Let's see if he picks up enough with the big wave that's crashed.
This is starting to be the big breaking point because Uzi and Ming have so much control over the bottom side. This is the byproduct here, the fact that Xiaohu can also make the early rotation and start denying some of these blue buffs. Now, in response, Swift is immediately running over to the enemy blue, which is why Let Me is placing down very early defensive vision because they want to try to deny this wave of Coco.
Let Me spots him out, but he's going to try and slow him down and get Audi up here. So, if this trade does go in favor of Vici, Swift may sacrifice one of his cans, but if he gets on towards Gromp, that's a mark for himself, but they found Let Me. Level 6 coming out from Audi as well, but that flash pull, one more hit will be enough! He gets over with the blast cone! Swift finds a Cho'Gath in the bush. Audi tries to protect him, they get the flash, but Swift almost pays for it.
By the skin of his teeth, he gets over the wall before the Rupture is able to destroy him. Let Me is so good at just knowing the proper power windows that Cho'Gath has, and he barely miscalculates it. Good flash.
Good flash. Pixel perfect almost against the ultimate coming out from Uzi. MLXG was waiting in the wings as well for that gank to take place.
Of course that now, Coco is so clean, sorry. Of course that now means that the arrow will be back up, so I expect that MLXG will gank again for Uzi as soon as that ultimate is available, which now Vici have to have a plan when that happens. Either Martin and Zentai decide to give up so much more farm, continue to grow that CS deficit between the ADCs, or they somehow make a play off of maybe a double teleport as Coco and Audi's TPs will be coming up close to the same time, or Swift is able to look for a counter gank.
However, 3 stopwatches are now online, so it makes it a bit difficult because Vici have 3 of them, whereas only 1 being picked up by Ming. Vici make a proactive play though.
But the thing is, oh, this is cool, breaking the tower.
Bringing Martin as well as Zentai to the top side of the map, gonna try and break this turret. Swift also picks up a mark from that.
So many teams fail to look for this play. If you are just hard losing one side of the map, just break the lane phase, look for the early rotation, especially when it's something like an Ocean Dragon on the bottom side. Ocean Dragon still only really that much or that viable when you're in the lane phase, and when you start breaking towers like this, you don't even really get to have access to that power.
The first turret does go in favor. Oh, MLXG, come on. First turret does go in favor of Vici. That only brings the goal lead back to even, however. So when the turret falls in the bottom lane in favor of RNG, it will be about 1,000 lead that they pick up ahead of Vici.
Because it's not about the long-term differences, it's about the short-term differences. They didn't want to continue to sit into this lane and allow Uzi to just continue to grow massive CS leads. And then by also breaking the first tower, you put a dent in what RNG love to do, which is give Uzi first tower. Oftentimes, a lot of teams will drop first tower anyway, but in RNG, it was 100% every single time, and every single time it would go to Uzi.
The other thing I like about this is if Vici can pull it off, they will trade an Elemental Dragon for a Rift Herald, which when they're even on gold and backpedaling a little bit against the CS lead that Uzi's created for himself, could break a second turret, give them a nice 1,000 gold buffer early into the match. Nice.
He tried.
It's not done just yet though. Swift has to actually secure it, gets it, but he can't actually pick it up. So uses Lamb's Respite. How is he going to be able to attempt for this? Gets it. What the? He flashed for it. He got it.
That was the right call. He is a good man.
I feel like there could have been better ways to do this, like putting the Lamb's Respite on top of where it's going to spawn. But
he was dead anyway. What's he gonna do?
He was dead. I thought he could have just saved his flash and being, you know, not super dead.
I mean, I think his mentality was, I don't know.
Got it though. He's a big boy after that play.
Yes, cross dissolve back into Swift. You are a true hero, the one that Vici do not deserve. This is going to be an arrow, and his stopwatch better be perfect.
They do lock down Ming. Or LMXG, I should say.
If she had Cask, I think that would have been the arrow. I just noticed that he doesn't have R, because then you try to throw the arrow and then like dodge it with a stopwatch, and then you drop the Cask on them.
Martin's having such a tough time here, though. They're even denying him the large wave that's being pushed onto this turret by Uzi.
But there's a dive opportunity that's being set up bottom.
There is. Looking to try and go against that Cho'Gath. Audi's there. Aurelion Sol is close by, though, so it really feels like an opportunity for Rise at the moment to push in. Because here he is! It's Aurelion Sol. Audi flashing away from the stun and even jumping over with the ultimate to make sure they get knocked back towards the turret. Rise making a play. Here comes Coco.
And Vici need to execute on this because the top tower will fall to RNG. The bot lane for Vici should actually just give it up. Oh no, Imlux rotated mid. What happened there? Imlux, why?
There's a Rift Tower being dropped down, so Swift and Audi getting as much damage onto this turret as possible so Rift Tower doesn't lose too many hit points from this charge. Just a 1-for-1 trade when it comes to turrets for now, because RNG should be able to take down this top lane one, and they won't really be able to shepherd Rift Tower into the bottom lane enough. That means here to deal with it. Oh, eyes not open, so they get a good charge. Half health, not bad. Nom nom nom.
This is bizarre. RNG, the fact that they tried to
Welcome
deny
to the series for us here.
the fact that they tried to deny so much more experience by letting the tower kill more minions, that MLXG picked up more gold from the mid lane waves and decided to rotate down as opposed to just staying up there and trying to burn that tower as quickly as possible. I just feel like it's a bit of outdated thinking about how to snowball this game, especially with your composition. When you have so much mobility between the Aurelion Sol as well as the pick potential of the long-range Ash Arrow, I don't think that you should be prioritizing acquiring as much gold through creeps, and you should be prioritizing dropping the towers as early as possible to open up the map and make use of the tools on your kit.
You know what? Do you want to know what else is bizarre for Oscar? Audi's first item.
I don't see it.
He's got a Wit's End on none.
I don't see it.
So that's a Black Cleaver, right? That's a Black Cleaver, right?
I mean, he's, I guess, committing that he's only going to be in a side lane.
But a Wit's End? I mean, Blade of the Ruin King?
I'm not... I've seen Stranger Things.
I haven't seen the second season.
Oh my god, I hate that joke!
It's not a joke!
No, 3 of you! 3 different people have said that same thing to me. You know what I mean. We have seen Stranger Things in the LPL. We have seen Athenes on Zac.
Wait, what?
I'm not gonna... Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that was your boy
no.
SOFM, by the way.
Oh, then it's okay.
I'm not gonna pull him up on a Wit's End.
He gets a free pass for that.
Is it my favorite first item on Gnar? No, but...
No, it's my favorite first item on Gnar right now. Since I takes a beating from the combo of Uzi as well as Ming in this mid lane.
I mean, this poor guy is 50 CS down. He has basically been resigned to, you get to take the blunt end from Uzi and just deal with it.
Which is quite scary because Martin did have a lead over Uzi early into the match in the first set, which around 35 minutes into the game didn't exist anymore for Martin. So be careful, young Padawan. Ultimate being thrown out again, very defensively. Swift's going to step forwards, gets hit by the Dark Binding. I think I've seen this one before, because alley-oop! Uzi gets the kill!
And now we finally get to see why so many LPL teams are trying to pick the Gragas into the Kindred. You find the CC, you knock her off the ultimate, and then you just dumpster her.
That just felt like deja vu right there. I swear I've seen that exact play before. Stepping up, knocked out of the ultimate, easy pickup, now Singtai's in trouble. Alright, RNG, that's fantastic. Where was this in game 1?
Where has this been for the last few weeks, Fish?
Yes! It's quite frustrating to watch the MSI champions fall as often as they have been lately.
I'm just I'm just tired.
You're just SMLZ at the moment?
Yeah. I'm past frustrated, I'm just exhausted.
Whereas Vici made all the right plays to begin with, and now Swift has actually picked up a champion that makes sense. He's 0-2. Yes, he died once for Riftel, but in that mid lane play, oh, not great.
It just feels that RNG had a bit of an issue with their draft. They went back to basics. They started playing some of their signature champions. Such an awesome combo to watch. And they just look so much more comfortable. Vici, though, still do have an opportunity to get back into this game.
Of course, they're only 2,000 gold behind. It's not super far, but it's quite a lead for RNG to work with.
Still, I still feel like all of the pressure, however, is on Coco. He needs to perform on this rise. I still wish that maybe the Gnar itemization was slightly different if he wants to play a side lane like this, so he could have a bit more kill pressure.
You say slightly different, I'd say anything but different.
He's the professional player.
Oh, he knows how to make his stereo look good in that car, Vici, you're driving. Tell you what.
He won't die.
No, he's fine in the side lane, don't get me wrong. And you know, he's going to get MR from Wit's End as well, which is great. And he does deal a lot of auto attack damage, which is great. So look, it's the best thing for them right now. But let's move away from the bottom side. Audi's now going towards a Gyro's Fist instead. A bit more defensive.
Very defensive.
And he turns into Mega Gnar, goes back to base and buys a Titanic Hydra, and then we just question everything once again.
If it works, it works.
Don't work though. Let me take some damage in the mid lane. Aren't you able to take down the mid lane outer turret as well as bottom lane turret earlier? So that's good damage. Out you can see that chimping let me down to half health. Now pushing for blue buff. But with Shogar fairly low, it's difficult. Ultimate knocks it back and picked up. Saudi chasing for this one. Mega Gnar into the wall, doesn't get him. Only knocks Ming backwards, but does force a flash out of Uzi as well as Ming and X. So they play safe, but very close for a play being started by Vici.
Excellent black shield from Ming right there to make sure that Uzi wasn't locked down. Of course, now you have those 3 flashes. So from Vici's point of view, they need to force the next team fight basically as soon as the Mega Gnar ultimate is back up and as soon as they have access to Mega Gnar. So at this point, shove out your side lanes as quickly as possible, make your backs, buy your items, and then recognize that you need to start grouping up and punish the fact that 3 flashes are down on RNG, because that can be a big team fight this close to Baron that could swing the game wide open. So that's the window and the target for Vici right now.
Checking those flash cooldowns later on if a fight does take place for Vici. They've got some ways to start it. You mentioned the Mega Gnar coming out from Audi. Just waiting for that cooldown to be back up. Then we also have the Varus ultimate available for Martin. Game 1 he had an interesting statistic of how many times he actually hit those. Hopefully works out for him in this second set. Stack number 3 coming out for Swift there, so we get the additional 75 range now on Kindred.
It is an issue how far Swift is behind the clock, although hold on.
Audi
Said he wouldn't die.
He gets a hyper proc, so he's able to simply sidestep the knock-up that would have come out from Shogar's Rupture there.
And he's absorbing pressure, but to what ends? Vici weren't in position. I mean, we don't expect them to trade that type of pressure for an objective or anything like that, but they didn't even acquire gold. You know, Ryze and Varus were sitting in the exact same lane. Coco is like, oh, I can't be here, you need to farm mid. Starts making the long walk back up towards the top side. So, again, if Vici are going to make that type of play, they need to make sure that they're communicating cross-map that if you're going to draw 4 people down there and possibly cost Audi his life, that you're either getting free waves or free jungle camps or free damage, free vision, something. Instead of just holding hands in mid lane.
Well, Baron buff does spawn, so 20 minutes into the match now. They're still holding hands in the mid lane. RNG are slowly getting a sizable lead though, just from this passive play that we've seen so far.
It's really only on Uzi, however, and the CS difference between him and his opponent. So I still feel that both teams are confident and feel pretty secure about the position that they're sitting in. Again, my biggest issue is how far behind the clock Swift is on the Kindred. You know, not being able to acquire a lot of those marks until fairly late into the game.
I do like his adaptation and his build though, instead of going towards something like the Blade of the Rowan King when, you know, you see Kindreds get ahead. He's going straight towards what seems to be Storm Racing. Now, play being made at the bottom lane. Letme's forced to flash away from Coco, and 2 members of RNG are here.
Who's
now going to show up as well. Is it Coco ganking Latme, or is it Uzi and Ming ganking this bottom lane of Vici? Trying to run this one out. Audi's nowhere close to getting into Mega Form. Coco going to try and sidestep this one. Uses a good Zhonya's Hourglass, trying to get away, but doesn't have any more summoner spells. Tries to take it to Uzi. But good rotations coming out from RNG, catch out the flank that he tried to attempt in the bottom lane.
I mean, I love the attempt from Coco. Unfortunately, just didn't have the perfect information from imperfect vision to try to make a play like that. And without access to Mega Gnar, which you pointed out, I think Audi made the right call disengaging from that fight and just trying to minimize the loss. Although if he gets caught here,
Ooh, Audi! Got goosebumps. Ooh.
That feels good. Even if he loses this game, he has that moment.
Yeah, he's just gonna go back to Twitch, clip that play, save it in a folder and be like, that was my highlight when we lost. Look at me, I'm good.
Look at me style on RNG.
We're back to it, Frosker, and it's ARM time.
This was the window, though. They needed the Mega Gnar, they have it, but they need to force the fight. Ash Hero was
Flashes are down, but they're coming up shortly, and there's a flank. Frosker and Letme's found access to the back lines, only collapses on towards the support. Seeing Type forced to use his cleanse to get out of that one. As Xiaohu's getting locked down. Swift looking for the flank. Swift in a lot of trouble now, forced to jump back over the wall. There's another good Dark Bind he's going to connect. Corruption and chains are still going to spread. Both teams just simply disengage, however.
But that was Vici's window to really make an impact. But because they didn't have access to the Realm Warp, they were unable to position the Mega Gnar appropriately. Couldn't make use of that one window that they had. That could have been the swing for this entire series.
Fortunately, using the bottom lane play, which actually bits RNG back. Sorry, Vici back. Now another Elemental Dragon gets picked up by RNG. They've got 3 this time round.
The Elementals are there, so now you have that win condition of playing around the Elder Dragon that was so crucial in game number 1. You have the flashes back up on all of the key members, save for Aurelian Soul, I believe, who used his flash in that last engagement, but A-Soul should be fine just playing around the long-range reach of his stars.
Still lethality. That's going to be picked up by Varus as well, so plenty of poke will come out from Martin. Still far behind, however. 200 CSC, 263 and the 3 kills that Uzi currently has. This is why you pick Ash, Uzi. Stop playing the damn Cogmore and Veins.
I won't say that was entirely his fault.
I will.
I mean, Ash would have died there.
So? Still his fault.
There's actually a joke that some of the Chinese professional players and casters talk about, that Uzi's Ezreal isn't a... Oh, we got it! That Uzi's Ezreal isn't known for the skill shots, that it's known for the auto attacks. That he actually misses a lot of Qs, but he does all of his damage through Ezreal's passive.
Just getting the extra attack speed.
Yeah, if you actually watch Uzi play Ezreal, when he uses his arcane shift so aggressive, it's because he misses a lot of Qs and he has to rely on the auto attack.
Yes, the arcane shift in so he can auto attack for the Sheen proc.
Because again, Uzi was always really well known for his target selection and his ability to find those targets in team fights, and not necessarily his positioning. That's what Deft was really well known for, as well as Name when they were the big
AD carries of the
trifecta ADCs during that 2015-2016 window.
Nice! Alright, ultimates are burnt and reset time. Back to the Butcher's Bridge. What should these teams be doing? Because I see a lot of them focusing around mid lane. I know Baron's up and available, but besides Cho'Gath and Gnar just going at it in the bottom side of the map, we haven't seen much from these two squads.
I mean, it's the right idea. I like the fact that RNG are just kind of parking their Ashe into the mid lane, because you might as well just throw out Ashe arrows as well as Dark Bindings, see what you find, and then try to kill it. But you need MLXG to be there with them so you can quickly reposition someone with a cask. So if he's not behind them, there's no point doing that unless you're just hard farming. Vici should be playing the side lanes. You have now, what, Frozen Mallet complete?
Oh boy.
But I would like Coco to be playing around the Gnar and try to make a pick as opposed to them playing separate lanes. I think this is really dangerous for Vici, because again, Gragas is near Ashe. All Ashe needs to do is wait till Gragas is nearby, throw an arrow, connect it onto Varus or Kindred, and then have him just popped.
And although Mart's is doing a lot of damage with this poke, you see right there, Uzi just clears one wave and poke doesn't matter anymore.
This is a trap. They need to be careful. Mega Gnar is about to fall off. Both top laners have TP, and without Mega Gnar, Cho'Gath's going to make a big difference. So Vici need to make sure that if the TP trigger is pulled, that they can disengage from the fight, because they would want Audi to take the structure.
Yeah, maybe buying time for just that, trying to get Audi to take the structure. Good side step coming out from Sing Tai there. They focus on towards the fight. There's a big
Here
flank
he
coming out, and
comes.
Letme's got a big flank. Good flash over the wall coming out from Martin. He's the one that's in trouble. Now Na's going to try and join the fight himself. They've already got the first kill to the support. They've swapped sides of the map. Vici is standing on RNG's side, and RNG are very strong at the moment. Letme with a good flank there, flashing forward with the silence, looking for Swift. He's forced to flash away. Mega Na's going to come back up shortly, forces RNG to retreat, but they're still on the wrong side of the map, Froskurin.
Ming with the hero binding actually stopped Audi from immediately getting the Meganar and jumping in. Not only that, but it buys enough time for the creep wave to come up mid lane and allow RNG to just take full tempo away from this team fight and have access to mid tower. Hero play from Ming.
A much more clinical play coming out from RNG as well. Playing the team fight well, playing the teleport well. At the end of the day, they only get a single kill as well as a turret. But now Letme's a monster. He's got his Righteous Glory as well as Warmog's armor. Very strong on Cho'Gath at the moment.
We just talked about this play, however, that Vici should be trying to fight it, because trying to wait long enough for the Meganar to step back up, the team fight was almost already over. So yeah, great Dark Binding from Ming to make sure that Meganar doesn't get in, but ultimately Vici needed to be in a better position where, okay, if we can force the TP from Cho'Gath, then we just need to disengage from the fight, not lose access to Baron, and allow Audi to push down more than just one structure. He had a massive wave behind him. Now he's lost all of that momentum because a huge wave is now accumulated back and will be pushing into Vici, and he needs to address it soon, and he doesn't have access to TP.
Oh, he needs to address it very soon. This should be a big turning point for RNG as well. Uzi's got a stopwatch, but not only that, 60% crit with his Infinity Edge and Blade the Rune King being picked up. And Sensor complete for Morgana as well. So Uzi is well and truly online on this Ashe. Good perk damage onto Ming, however. Oko still has the Realm Warp to work with to try and drop ship into the back
They know
lines.
that Dark Binding's down. They should be much more aggressive about trying to threaten with Varus ultimate with that cooldown off.
And with Meganar up soon as well, Audi's still holding on to the yellow Rage Bar. So that means he will not transform yet, and he can control it for now. So good use and control of his Rage Bar. Very squishy. Nah, though. He's built for split pushing with the frozen mallets as well as Wit's End.
They see Coco as bottom. He does have access to TP, which is why he went to clear the wave. He can teleport into this fight.
They're committing. RNG committing towards this Baron.
Here comes Coco.
Below half health. That's a very long teleport though. Now 2,000 hit points. Let me at half health. Audi going mega shortly, but it gets hit by stuns. Good Dorby put up by Brom. Sintai starts the fight. Throws out a great ultimate, but he falls at the back cover. Audi's going to fall as well. Lazarus Spike keeps Vici alive. Audi trying to find access into the back lines. Doesn't get the ultimate off. They're kiting back as Swift wants to try and take this one. But fundamental mis-executions coming out from Vici, and they lose 4.
And it is just so easy for RNG to walk forward with this team composition. They got all of their signature champions. Let me particularly on the Cho'Gath, just a massive problem to deal with. I love the fact that they pulled off the Baron. They didn't give Swift the opportunity to look for the 50-50, and now RNG sprint ahead of Vici in this match.
They're going to use Xiaohu to take down the top lane in the turret, and the rest of the team's going to look to try and take Baron. 9 kills to none, 3 Elemental Dragons, and now a Baron buff to boot. Looking strong in this second set.
And again, the big thing for me was them just deciding to turn off of the Baron. They didn't want to take the chance. Uzi doesn't hesitate. They throw out all of their damage as well as their CC, and pretty much end the fight before it begins. Audi forced to use a defensive flash on the Meganar. The Lamb's Respite also being used very defensively. And at this point, I mean, Vici have lost all their damage dealers. They can't do anything.
Almost got into a good position as well because Chains of Corruption was spreading for Martin. Was locking down multiple members of RNG, and Audi made the play to jump in. Wasn't locked down by the Rupture as well as the Corrupt Control and Silence that followed up. Jumped into the fight, got a good Meganar ultimate off. Then yeah, Coco as well as Martin could follow up with damage, even Swift, but not going to be the case. RNG hold on, live to fight another day, and Vici now staring at a Baron buff as well as a big deficit of about 6,500 gold behind RNG.
Should be the final siege, especially with the likes of the Ash Arrow as well as the gold buffer that they have. Uzi has all the items he needs. I think RNG end on this push.
Well, they're trying to. Letme's charging into the back lines. Realm Warp's just going to bring Coco out of his own base. The turret falls. MLXG taking some damage. Brom throws out the ultimate, but it's going to be using stopwatch being burnt by Letme. Getting closer and closer towards the inhibitor. Martin forced to flash away from a Q that's thrown out by Xiaohu.
That might
take
be
it
the
down.
only saving grace.
That's it. get the objective, and RNG going to reset. Still 2 minutes of Baron buff to work with, so they're going to use that time to spend the gold they've picked up. 8,000 gold ahead of Vici.
Immediately the pings go down for RNG. We're gonna push mid, you're gonna push top, and we are going to take both these inhibs with our Baron buff. RNG were once known in the LPL as being the most devastating team with Baron. They would get it pretty much end on first Baron for their ability to control pushing waves and have them all simultaneously flood in.
Like to see how Vici fight back here, because that's a Wit's End being picked up by Swift now. Components of a Black Cleaver, I believe, for Mr. Gnar in the top lane of Audi.
He's got it.
There it is, picked up.
It wasn't the order you wanted, Fish.
No. Would have liked the Wit's End of that, you know, maybe 5th or 6th item. Okay, Xiaohu. You watch them minions die.
Just letting it stack up.
They still got 50 seconds of Baron buff to work with as well, stacking it up, making them stronger. Vici, it feel like you put up your last stand here. Throw it at RNG, see if it sticks. Force the fight. And if it doesn't work, you've got game 3. Take it there.
At this point, the gold lead is pretty insurmountable for Vici just based on their composition. They don't do a lot of damage. You're really looking at Coco, and with Uzi having access to GA, I just don't think the rise is enough. It is so easy for RNG's composition just to roll them over. They're just waiting out Mega Gnar. Now that Audi doesn't have Gnar, they should throw the Ash Arrow.
Well, unless she throws out his ultimate, separates Vici, allowing her to pick that up. Xiaohu spends this entire time pushing in the mid lane. So all 3 inhibitors are now going to fall. Vici decide not to go for the final fight, and in doing so, their entire base has collapsed. All the inhibitors are down, RNG 5 minutes strong, but no Baron buff, still can push towards the Nexus. This could be game here for Oscar.
It certainly looks that way. They've suffocated Vici out of this game. It's the RNG special, every single wave collapsing at the exact same time.
Much better coming out from RNG in match 2, but they still have to put in the finishing touches. Mega Gnar just frustrating from Audi. They can't connect in that situation. They lock down Xiaohu, but Nexus turret 1 at half health. This won't be the minion wave that we see the Mega Minions, but they'll come out soon. A swift kill before he can even use Lamb's Respite. Coco separated from the rest of the team and stopwatch being burnt by Xiaohu. Audi wants to try and get as much damage as possible, but skirting towards his fountain to stay alive. Coco being jumped on by Amalekshi. Pops the Saracen Brace, gets a nice big shield for himself, but no Nexus turrets left standing. Vici, they're going to try and put up their final stand, but even that's not enough. Where did he go? Martin just gets destroyed, melted and disappeared. Coco even forced the recall, couldn't even walk through RNG to get back to base and dies on top of his fountain. We're all tied up, we're going to game 3.
Much better performance from RNG in game number 2. That's third. Still not as clean as we expect from the champions.
No, not
I feel
at
like
all.
their mid-game in particular really needs some examination. And I don't know if that's misplays from Xiaohu or MLXG or team-wide communication, but this is not the RNG that we saw at Rift Rivals.
Still so much better from game 1 and still so much better from the defeats that we saw them take throughout cross-conference and even earlier this week. Better. But they are better than that, still. We still had some signs of life from Vici. Game 2, not as much. I mean, Uzi was able to dominate the bottom lane this time round.
And you have to think that Swift had all of the tools to try to make an impact there, but was unable to execute on it. There's much more attention giving to bot lane from RNG, not just in ganking for the lane, but more so in setting up vision and allowing Uzi to be such a bully down there.
I mean, even though he had the tools to work with in this match, wasn't the case for the first match, so he steps up this time round and RNG go back towards a more RNG focused composition, and it works against Vici this time round. Vici tried to set up the exact same plays we saw before, but they didn't have the start or the lead they had in the first match to begin with, so they couldn't quite execute the same way. Well, even though I say execute the same way, the execution in game 1 was still fairly poor.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it came down to. RNG's, or Vici's composition didn't give them the same, you know, easy go buttons. I think, again, they're really struggling to play around their side lanes appropriately at the appropriate times. Coco attempted to gank Let Me once in that bottom lane, was kind of left out to dry, which I believe it was the right play to attempt to make. Again, it's just that fumbled execution, didn't have the proper vision, didn't know where the rest of RNG were, and then got collapsed, and then never tried it again. But I think you do attempt that play again. There's also that big window in the mid game where we said, okay, RNG have burned 3 flashes trying to get out of the dragon fight. All Vici need to do now, force the waves forward, have access to Mega Gnar, and then try to punish the fact that none of the RNG's carries have flash, and it'll be right before Baron.
Yep.
If they can get that team fight, you transition into Baron, and then you close the game. But RNG were able to disengage.
And I mean, we take a look towards that Baron fight, right? That was a perfect time for them to try and start a fight, but RNG just played around Baron so well. They disengaged once they hit about 2,000 hit points, and caught out Aldi. Big rupture coming out from them. Even though we saw Brom jump in front, put the shield up, they already had enough damage into Aldi that it didn't matter. The front line was completely obliterated.
The ability for RNG to turn off Baron with their composition, and then just the zone controls they had between Ashe and Arulian Soul in that area of the map was really the game difference there when Vici tried to flank from the side.
Wouldn't be surprised if Let Me even potentially gets nominated for MVP there, because his Cho'Gath play was quite well, but it is Ming that picks up MVP off the back half of that game. I mean, he had some pretty cool Dark Bindings and was the centerpiece in the strategy that RNG were running, and had a standout performance.
I mean, protected Uzi when he needed to.
Yes.
He is the one true support. A lot of Dark Bindings were hit to also make sure that the Mega Gnar couldn't engage when Vici did have those windows. So, you know, if you're going to give it to anyone, I do like Let Me as kind of another nomination, but I'm not upset to see Ming walk away.
Not at all. Not at all. I think everyone from the side of RNG stepped up in that match. I don't think it was necessarily MLXG or Xiaohu that would have got it, but Angry Kittens for the side of Vici, because every single time we saw those Dark Bindings connect, it was pick after pick that was being attempted in the mid lane, especially the combination between Ashe as well as Morgana. You have the safety of the Black Shield and the pick potential of Arrow and Dark Binding being thrown your way.
And unfortunately, it just comes down to individual skill ceilings for Vici's members. No one is ever going to question Swift and Coco, but if your Varus and your, Braum aren't connecting with their skill shots, you're not going to have a lot of opportunity.
And this series has been a battle of top of the table against bottom of the table in their conference, but it's all tied up at 1-1, so let's see if Vici can pull off the upset right after this break.
让我们把故事传唱下去，继续书写 RNG 的传说。